Today, we are learning basketball with Nick Andre, connoisseur of women's hoops, keeping up with the NBA playoffs and the contenders. You know, this guy loves basketball. I love talking hoops with him. Super excited to dive in today. We're thinking about kind of hitting on some of the up and coming prospects in the women's college game, like Taniya Latson, who's leading the entire nation in scoring, hitting the game winner against UNC. What a moment for her. To Paige Bueckers, just an unreal talent. Juju Watkins, walking bucket, one of my favorite players to watch on the rise, and just kind of this wave of new skills and new age talent with coming off the heels of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and that epic rivalry in college basketball, now entering the league. And obviously there's already so much talent in the league, but it's just cool to continue to see the women's game grow and all this exciting new skilled talent really enter the league. So excited to dive into that. And then after that, we're thinking about bouncing around the NBA a little bit, so hit on some contenders and who we think is really deserving of being at that top spot for the NBA playoffs. Not we're about a week away from the trade deadline, maybe 2 weeks, but it's right around the corner. It sneaks up on you fast. But before we do, how are you doing today, Nick?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for the introduction, man. That was really dope to see, man. I'm glad to be a part of the show, man. I've been, watching your work, especially your coverage with the Orlando Magic. I think you do an exceptional job. I don't think anybody covers Orlando like you do, man. So I'm happy to be on, man. Appreciate you for inviting me.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate the praise for like that. There's a lot of good Magic reporters and journalists out there. I'm just trying to keep people updated with the team and love watching the Magic and kind of their team building process and what they look for. So appreciate that for sure. And, I thought we'd start with Taniya Latson, that game winner against UNC. The whole game really was just epic. Her last 3 games, she's got 25 points and 7 assists against UNC, 30 points on Miami, had 20 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds, 4 steals against Clemson. Like, she's just racking up stats. I got her averages here, 26.5 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 2.6 steals, shooting 49, 47, 80 with the shooting splits on over 3 threes a game and 19 shots per game. I mean, she's out here getting buckets. And she's doing it all at 5'8". Like, she's just owning the game with, a smaller than normal stature, which is super impressive. And she's doing it for Florida State. So got to give a shout out to, Fear the Spear right there. And, and the Knowles doing their thing. And yeah, I mean, she's just really exciting to watch. I mean, you'll look down and see she's got a triple double here. She's got a 30-point double here and there. And she's just keeps growing and deserves to get a little more, a shout on the national scale, I should say. So, that's why I wanted to kind of start off the pod with her and just give her flowers as she, hopefully enters this national player of the conversation. So, what have you seen from her? And I was hoping to hit on some of the top prospects with you that, should be entering the WNBA soon. So, what do you see with her at this level? And then maybe, what could take her to the next level?
Taniya Latson has just been sensational this year. Even for me, and it's crazy too because Florida State had a tip-off event like probably a few weeks before the season began, and I talked to Taniya for probably about 8 to 10 minutes, and I told her, I said, hey, I think you could really have a chance at the ACC Player of the Year, and she said that she was going for it. And when I say, I mean, I'm always projecting that she's going to have a great year. I mean, especially, when you look at her resume, she came out the gates and won Freshman of the Year as a freshman. And then last year averaged around 21, 22 a game and was able to lead the team to the NCAA tournament. But this year, she's just taking her game to a whole nother level, honestly. And I think she's came into the season with the approach, like she's really had a chip on her shoulder, to begin the season. Like whenever you talk about some of the best players in women's basketball, the first names that come up are Hannah Doggo, Paige Bueckers, Juju Watkins, and even in the past years like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese or even Flau'jae Johnson. But somehow, some way, Taniya was always not placed in that conversation. And she's putting up the numbers, and her play style is exactly as good as those other players that I had mentioned. So I think this year she came into the year with a chip on her shoulder, and she's just been sensational. I mean, she's putting up record-setting numbers. Honestly, she had a career-high 40 points against Virginia Tech. She grabbed her first triple-double early in November, I want to say, against, I think it was Gonzaga. and even just continuing to just improve her all around game. I think people will always highlight Taniya as an elite scorer, which she definitely is. But when you look at this season, she's improved from literally almost every area of the floor, not even just scoring, but from a playmaker perspective. She's played a lot more point guard, honestly. I mean, even with her backcourt mate Amaria Gordon, allowing her to play more off ball. And then even on the defensive end as well, I mean, applying tremendous pressure. She can pick up 94 feet if she wants to. She can, force turnovers. She can get into the passing lanes. And then, of course, being able to force turnovers lead to easy transition baskets. But Taniya's just been on a different level, honestly, man. And, I'm glad to see that she's finally getting the national recognition that she deserves because her numbers have shown it, honestly, man. And, obviously offense, she's always been good, as far as, finishing around the rim. I think that her body control, the way that she absorbs contact, when attacking has always been great. But her perimeter game has gone to another level as well. Like, I mean, last year she shot 27% from three. This year it's around 48%. So you see that huge improvement, percentage wise from 3 point range. And like when you watch her, she's way more comfortable at shooting the perimeter shot. I think last year and the year before, she attempted threes, but you could tell she wasn't as comfortable taking them. Now she's just shooting them with confidence. Like even in the Miami game, she shot 5 for 5 from three in that matchup, and it was just all shooting with confidence, honestly. So Taniya's been on a different level, man, this year, and it's crazy to think, man, because we still have about like 10, 11 more games left in the season. And she's definitely in the ACC Player of the Year race. I know that a lot of people's favorites may be Hannah Hidalgo, and I mean you can't knock what Hannah Hidalgo has been doing. Notre Dame is the best team in the ACC. You can never knock that. Her and Olivia Miles, they've proven to be the best backcourt in the country, and even Hannah has improved tremendously this year as well. I mean, I think that she's a much better shooter. She's always been a very tenacious defender, but I think her and Taniya, I think, is going to go back and forth as far as that ACC Player of the Year award. So I still believe that it's definitely possible for Taniya to win it, honestly, but it's going to be a tough race, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, she's racking up marquee moments like that. That UNC game winner was just as high IQ as it gets. Like she basically had four defenders thrown at her through the play. It almost looked like she was like about to do that classic Kawhi versus the Sixers shot where he
Yeah,
fade, he runs around the key, grabs it on the baseline and goes for the fadeaway over like two contests, like it. But she, is a smart enough player to realize she's got 3 seconds. She knows people
exactly.
are chasing her around those screens to get there. She's gonna pump fake and have those two defenders just go flying out of the way, and then drive to the rack. And two more defenders come at her. So why not throw a little up and under finish for the win? And just an epic game with a crazy finish where I want to say both teams hit like three total shots in the last 10 seconds. Like
Yeah, it was
Florida
wild.
State, yeah, like Florida State hit a three. UNC countered with a little touch inside, and then Taniya did the rest, and that's all she wrote. So it's cool to see her get these marquee moments. Hopefully, get a little more of that national spotlight because you mentioned a ton of the top names in the women's game that a lot of fans probably already know about, but I'm not sure enough know how great she's really been at this level from Flage. I hope I said that right. Flage Johnson on LSU with Angel Reese. Like she's super tough. And shout out to her bars as well. She's got bars. I mean, the Lil Wayne track goes
Yeah,
hard.
picking rap. Yeah,
I can't lie, but she's really tough player to watch. You mentioned Olivia Miles, who's back now, really showing everything she's got. Hannah Hidalgo at Notre Dame. Juju Watkins at USC, Paige Bueckers at UConn. These are some top talents really that are probably a little more known to casual fans, and all those teams are top 10. But you noted on Twitter, Florida State's top 25 now. They got the 25th ranking. They got that number by their name when they play on ESPN. So now people know to kind of keep an eye on them, and we'll see how far they can go. I think she's as talented of a scorer in college basketball right now that you're going to find. And you noted that it's more than scoring. Like she can fill up the box score in similar ways that take a Paige Bueckers or a Juju Watkins can. I mean, Juju's third in scoring at 24.8 points per game, 5.5 boards, 3.7 assists, and a lot of stocks, 2.4 steals and 1.9 blocks. So she's bringing it on both ends in terms of her two-way feel, forcing turnovers. She's got one of the smoothest like games I've seen
I
on
agree.
that side. Like it's just fun to watch her. She's just a walking bucket, tough shot maker, mean handles with the crossovers. And she's putting up shots, 18 shots a game, 6 threes, 8 free throws. shooting 46, 36, 83 on her shooting line. And like she's probably my favorite all around player to just watch on the rise as a prospect, and just very enjoyable, smooth bucket getter. So what do you see with Juju that could kind of not only continue to dominate this level, but could really make her a special scorer at the next level?
Well, Juju has just been a star from the beginning. I was able to watch a few of her games when she played in high school for Sierra Canyon, and even I think she had like a 60-point game in high school, if I can remember clearly. And I just remember watching some of her film in high school, and I was like, yo, like the way that she was just controlling the game is just really insane to watch. Honestly, she can really dictate pace. She can get to her spots. On any area of the floor, whether it's the 3-point shot, the mid range, or she's even able to attack the rim. And the thing about her is that she doesn't come off as a player that has tremendous athleticism, but she finds a way to get her own way no matter what it is. And even just me watching her in high school, I already saw with my own two eyes. I'm like, yo, she can dominate at the next level. And then I even remember her first game, her first ever college game when she played against Ohio State. I think she had like 32 and I think maybe 11 rebounds or something like that. I can't remember the exact stats off the top of my head, but just watching that game and just how calm and collected she was, like it looked like she had already been on this level before. And so you looked at that and I was like, oh yeah, she's gonna have a great career. Then she ended up having a 50-point game later on the season against Stanford. And I mean, I'll just be real. I mean, even though the race was between her and Hannah Hidalgo as the best freshman, like you couldn't deny what Juju Watkins was doing, especially considering, revamping that USC program, because USC before that really wasn't a contender at all in the country. Now you add in a player like Juju Watkins, and now they're one of the top teams in the country, and they were able to get to the Elite Eight. So give credit to Juju on a great freshman year, and then that also translated even to the sophomore campaign. USC got off to a slow start. Obviously, when you're getting a transfer like Kiki Iriafen from Stanford, and then of course you bring in like good freshmen like Kennedy Smith and other players. It obviously takes a while for a lot of great talent to gel on the floor. I mean, we've seen it in years past, in all basketball, whether it's college or NBA. But Juju has remained the same. Juju continues to be that it factor. And I think the thing about Juju that makes her stand out is obviously she's super skilled, but she's super mellow as well. She never gets too high. She never gets too low. She continues to just stick with the game plan no matter what the situation of the game is. She just continues to find ways to score and play me for her teammates, honestly. And her just being able to generate a lot of opportunities for herself and others is part of the reason why USC is super successful. I've seen a lot of people, draw comparisons to players like Kobe Bryant and others. I don't know how people feel about that, honestly, but just with the way that Juju can just get to her spots in the mid range is just super incredible to watch. She has her inconsistent moments. I will say that, because she has had some poor shooting performances over her career, but whenever she has that rhythm, she's really unstoppable to guard. And this is a player that I could potentially see as the future face of the WNBA, if you ask me. I don't know how other people feel about that, but she just has that type of game, and she just has that type of it factor that can make her a superstar in the league one day, honestly. So she has a couple more years in college to, of course, prove herself, and of course, like rack up the accolades, as far as her being one of the best to ever do it. But I think once she gets to the WNBA, I think that's what people are really going to see. Like, she's really a superstar.
Yeah, I mean, hot take, I guess, but I like it. I mean, she's right there with any of them. She definitely carries herself with that like coolness under pressure type of vibe when
Mm-hmm.
you're watching. She, brings that mentality, that similar mentality to Kobe, that similar approach that you can see like cool under pressure, and just her ability, like you said, to get to her spot. So I don't hate it at all. And yeah, I mean, you can definitely see like someone who plays that cool, that under pressure, like controls the pace, gets to her spots, and a tough shot maker like that it just seems like a very marketable star at the next level, especially for the women's game, to just have someone that can just make the clutch shots and create highlight plays with her handles and with her fadeaways and pull ups. So just love watching Juju play. And that leads me to another up and coming star, Paige Bueckers, who's already on the map and has kind of earned that national status. I'm sure she might be the most popular player in college hoops at this point, now that Caitlin Clark has moved on. And obviously she also is an insane shooter with really high feel. Like, she makes winning plays. She's making transition outlet passes on a dime. She's putting up 19.6 points, 4.5 boards, 4.2 assists, 1.9 steals this year. Shooting lights out, 56, 43, 83 on 5 threes a game. Both of her and USC are on top 10 teams with UConn and USC. So they're obviously getting wins with these stats. And Paige is just like the next great shooter that should be entering the league. That brings really high skills. That tweet lives rent free of someone that was scouting her like years ago. I don't have the source in front of me where it was like Paige Bueckers is the best sixth grade basketball player I've ever seen.
I think I
And
remember that.
yeah, it's just really like a funny take in general, but like this guy was spot on. I can just imagine her just having all this skill back in sixth grade doing that to her peers. So now still doing the same thing to her college peers. So what stands out to you about her game, in the college ranks and then to the next level, and on top of that, more so your scouting process in general. Whether it's differences that you're looking for between the guys and the girls game, or similarities, that just things that translate for you from the college level to the pro level on either side.
Yeah, first I'll start with Paige. I mean, Paige is special. I mean, Paige has been special. I mean, you talked about the sixth grade tweet, but even I remember discovering her in high school. I can't remember exactly what school it was, but I know it was a school in Minnesota. And even back then, during her senior year, everybody knew like once she got to UConn, she was going to be a star. And you saw how how that game pretty much translated, into college with her being able to lead UConn to the NCAA tournament, and then of course leading to the national championship game in 2022, even though they lost to South Carolina. Paige has always been just straight offense, honestly. But honestly, even though Paige has always been a great offensive player, I don't think people really highlight how much she has improved as a defender. Honestly, she is an elite defender, and I think what gives her an advantage obviously it's the effort that she brings on the end of the floor, but it's also she has a pretty I don't know exactly her measurements as far as wingspan, but she has a pretty big wingspan, honestly. So I think that gives her an advantage, to get into passing lanes, to be able to create turnovers for the opposing team. And she's elevated on the end of the floor, especially over the past couple of years. And I can't remember exactly how many steals she's averaging this year, but I know she's up there as far as one of the best, one of the top steals leaders, in the country. But Paige has honestly always been a bucket. It's part of the reason why she's projected to be the number one pick in this upcoming year's WNBA draft to the Dallas Wings. Everybody's ready to see her, go to that next level. And I think honestly, her deciding to stay this extra year is allowing her to get a chance to prepare what's next. Well, for what's next for her at the next level. I know that she's also eligible to be able to play next year, but if you ask me honestly, I mean, she's been in college already for 5 years. It's time. It's time to take her game to the next level. Honestly, I mean, she's pretty much done all that she could in college. She's achieved multiple accolades. When it comes down as far as one of the best players in this era in college basketball, her name is definitely her name is definitely in the conversation. I just think it's time, to see what she could do at the next level, and I think that her game will translate tremendously at the next level. And what's crazy is like I feel like in a way, like her and Juju, as far as their approach to the game, is honestly very similar in a way, because Paige is also the same way where she's not getting too high, she's not getting too low. Like you don't really see much of a reaction out of Paige. Maybe on certain moments of the game, maybe down the stretch, what I'm saying, like whenever UConn has a manageable lead. But when it's time to go to war out there, Paige has one mindset, and that's the mindset to win. And she's going to do whatever is necessary to go out there and get a win, whether it's get a bucket, whether it's get a big defensive play. So that definitely stands out to her, and I think it's part of the reason why she's one of the top players in the country, honestly. So I'm ready to watch Juju at the next level. I'm sure that other people are ready to watch her, play in the WNBA, and I think that she's gonna shine at that next level, honestly. And as far as my approach, scouting, covering players, I just always like to see what players bring different to the table. And it doesn't always have to be, just play style. It's just always, your approach as well. Like for instance, like you see Taniya Latson, like Taniya, I think what stands out with Taniya, obviously she's a great scorer, but I think nobody finishes around the rim like Taniya Latson does. Like Taniya's hang time is just absolutely insane. And I mean, that game winner against USC was literally an example of that. Like the way that she double clutched over two defenders to be able to finish at the rim. I mean, she's been doing that throughout her career, honestly. And I mean, that's her mindset, is always to attack, to attack, to attack. And now you see her now continuing to develop the perimeter game as well. And then of course on the defensive side as well. But Tanaya has a dog mentality, honestly. Like she's that person, like she wants to get it by all means. And that's one thing that I love about her. Same thing with Juju, same thing with Hannah Doggo as well. I mean, Hannah Doggo, I don't think it's talked about enough. I mean, Hannah is honestly, I'll be real. Like if I was a college player, like Hannah Doggo could possibly be one of the more scariest players to go against because she is a tenacious defender and she will hound you and pick you up 94 feet and give you hell. Like it's crazy to see, how she plays on the defensive end and even on the offensive end whenever she attacks the rim. Like, it's crazy. There was one game, I can't remember exactly who they played, but there was a play where she had attacked the rim. She got fouled hard by the big, fell on the floor, and then just got off the floor, just started laughing, like laughing hysterically. Yo, this girl is absolutely crazy. But you love a player like that, honestly, man. Like it's just crazy to see. But Hannah the same way. I mean, Hannah approaches the game like she's a killer by all means, man. She wants to attack you, and she wants to attack her defender. She takes her assignment very serious, and that's part of the reason why she leads the country in steals. I want to say, and she's also a really great rebounder as well at her size. Like she's like 5'6", maybe, honestly 5'5", 5'6", something like that, and she averages around like 6, 7, 8 rebounds. Like that's honestly insane. Like that's honestly an insane stat for somebody of her size. So give credit to Hannah Doggo as well. Juju has also been another player who has improved tremendously on the defensive side of the ball as well. I mean, I think that I think I saw that even during the UConn game where she was able to really do a good job as far as applying pressure, then of course getting into the passing lanes as well as a perimeter defender. And as far as the scouting thing, I'm just always looking to see what they bring to the table. What makes them stand out compared to other players. It doesn't always have to be offense, but it could also be defense, and it could also just be approach and mentality. Heading into the game or heading into a particular matchup. Honestly, so I mean, I wouldn't say that it's any different from both the men and women's side because I mean, even with the men, I see the same thing. Like even like you look at a guy like Cooper Flag. Like Cooper Flag is just super sensational at Duke, honestly, man. I mean, he's a guy that I could see translating to the next level. And it's not even just his athleticism. Like, he's very skilled. He can shoot the ball really well. He could put the ball and generate plays for both him and his teammates. Like, he's a special type of player. Even with guys like Dylan Harper or even like Ace Bailey, those guys over there at Rutgers, they're super spectacular. Guys like Jeremiah Fears, honestly, or even Trey Johnson, even at Texas, like those guys all bring something different to the table that I love, honestly, and I think it's part of the reason why they'll be able to translate to the next level. And I mean, we'll probably dive into it a little bit later, but I'll tell you this: I'm really excited about the 2025 NBA draft class as well. I put out a tweet about it last night, and I think that this is a class that could possibly shine, at the next level. So we'll see.
Yeah, and talk about like maniacal work ethic with Cooper Flag as well and Hannah Hidalgo. I mean, there's
Right.
something that you just want to see on either side. Is just players that crazy in a complimentary way are out just crazy work ethic, crazy just crazy maniacal on the court. Like they live for the hustle plays and diving for loose balls and just getting their active hands everywhere. So I mean, you always want to
Exactly.
see that defensively and just that mindset, that approach that they will do anything to win. And yeah, I mean the draft class on the men's side as well is one of the best, especially 2026 draft really excites me as well. Like that's crazy talented, but there's a lot of talent in the 2025 class. I mean, you hit on some of the top guys with Dylan Harper and Cooper Flag, and VJ Edgecombe is really starting to develop
Yeah.
this year a little bit. He's shown some insane athleticism and some good shooting and better decision making as it goes on as well. So I mean, just a ton of prospects to be excited about. So yeah, I mean it's cool to kind of hear about your scouting process and what you look for, and that you got to just kind of think about all different things. And I always come back to like every scout looks at the game differently. They're looking for different traits. They value different traits, and then each team as an organization also has different priorities. Whether it's what they're looking for in a player, what they're looking for in a person off the court. Certain mentality and approaches. Like a player that the Miami Heat want might not work for a player that the Oklahoma City Thunder want,
Agree.
and vice versa. Like they're just generally looking for different baseline traits or whether it's personality or as a player. So it's different for every team. It's different for every evaluator. So I think it's just good to kind of hear all the perspectives and kind of add it all up at the end. And jumping to the NBA and some of the contenders that we've been looking at. So I was looking for a stat. I didn't quite find the other stat I was looking for, but one stat that comes to mind for contenders is every champion since Shaq and Kobe has been top 12 offense and defense. They're a top 12 rating on both sides of the ball. And the only teams that have that this year are Houston, Milwaukee, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Memphis, Boston, New York, and Cleveland. That would leave out Denver and Phoenix technically at this point in terms of the top 12 offenses, and also would leave out Indiana and Sacramento, but I'm not sure they're considered quite at that level yet. But in terms of the top 12 offenses, those are the teams that do not, or either do or don't have a top 12 defense to boot. And obviously, like Boston is on top. Like they've got the throne right now. They've got the team, and obviously they've had a little bit of a slow start. They've had, maybe they're drifting through the regular season. Maybe they're just waiting for a big push at the end, or maybe the league has caught up a little bit with where they're at and what they're doing. So I'm interested to hear who your contender is at this point. I would say for me, it's still Boston. They have, maybe not, no one's flawless, no one's perfected anything, but their two-way versatility to me is just unmatched. Their scoring, their combination of like defensive versatility and scoring versatility is, and then the spacing and the team first passing and all that is just as good of a team building process that you can really imagine outside of drafting Steph Curry and and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and surrounding them with length, I guess, is another that comes to mind. But in terms of today's game, like it's hard to beat a 1 through 5 combination that essentially can switch. They can all shoot. They all look for the open shot, and they all individually bring different elite scoring efficiency, from Kristaps in the post up mismatch now to Drew Holiday being a nice ISO option, and obviously like downhill bully ball type guy, and then obviously like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum doing their thing and getting better every year and improving their game. And it's just hard to beat that combination of talent. But I think the Cavs and the Thunder have shown this regular season that they're here. They've arrived. Like they've figured something out between what they're doing, and the Knicks are off to a really great start too. And Denver had a slow start, but they're lurking. So who's on your radar? Who do you think can kind of should be the favorite at this point in the season?
I definitely believe that Boston is still at the top. I mean, obviously they're the reigning champs, so they're the one team that knows how to get it done as far as being able to win a championship. I mean, you broke down the roster on this. I mean, of course you got the elite wing duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They've both been spectacular this year. But Boston's depth is one thing that definitely stands out to me. You talk about Porzingis, how valuable he is, as far as his floor spacing, his post play, and everything. And then Drew Holiday, Drew Holiday was a steal last year, being able to acquire him in the trade, and obviously it led to them winning the championship. And then of course him bringing that championship experience coming from Milwaukee, winning that one in 2021, definitely played a part in that as well. But then you also talk about Derek White and how he's been able to just continue to ascend in the green jersey as well. So Boston should always be at the top of the list, man. I'll be real, a team that I wanted to be a contender, but things just have not gone the way, it's been up and down, and I'm sure, you'll agree with this. I mean, Orlando. Like, I had Orlando finish in top 3 in the Eastern Conference. I'm thinking, like, man, like, last year they shocked the world, got to the playoffs. They pushed the Cavs to 7 games. I honestly thought at some points they could have actually won that series, honestly. I mean, I know Paolo had the 50-point game, or excuse me, was it Paolo that had the 50-point game in Game 6? Or I think it might have been
He had a 50-point game in the regular season this year.
Okay, yeah.
But he had some big games in the playoffs. I want to
Yeah.
say, I know that him and Franz went off in Game 6, so
Yeah.
they both like helped secure the win. Jalen
I think it was
Suggs did
A.
well
Mitchell
too.
had the 50-point game. I think
Yeah,
it was
that sounds right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, even then, I mean, being a young team, being able to push the Cavs to 7 games, I'm thinking like, like they can translate whatever they learned from the past postseason and bring it over to this season. I think that they'll be good to go. And then, of course, Jamal Mosley, I respect him tremendously as a coach. I think that he's one of the best coaches in the league, honestly. But, health has not been on their side. Obviously, Paulo missed a lot of time, to begin the year. Then Franz went down as well. But I also give credit to the team because even though they had stretches where they missed their top 2 players, they still were able to keep afloat. Like, I love the production of guys like Jalen Suggs and then other guys as well, Markelle Fultz, and then, of course, Wendell Carter Jr., just being able to, continue to step up and then, of course, play at a high level. A team that I'm really interested to see what they can do this year, and I know that they're a young roster, so there's not much experience on their side, but Oklahoma City, honestly, like I really believe that they may have a chance of making the finals. And it's tough to call because the West is just super competitive, honestly. But obviously, they lost to Dallas last year in the second round. This year, they're this year, they're the top seed in the Western Conference. SGA is just having an incredible year. If you ask me, I believe that he's going to come out with the MVP, even though it is going to be a close race between guys like him and of course guys like Nikola Jokic. But I think that this award should definitely be his. But OKC has just been clicking on all cylinders. I mean, it's not just SGA. It's guys like Jalen Williams, but then also they're also being able to do it without Chet Holmgren, who's missed a good amount of time due to the injury. And then, of course, you're getting other great production as well from other guys, like a guy that I've actually been really impressed with. I mean, he hasn't been great every game, but he's had really good stretches as Isaiah Joe for them. Being able to come off the bench and just be able to provide a spark for them. So, I mean, I think that's really incredible. I know Denver is not in the top 12 as far as offense and defense, but you can't deny how great they've been. I mean, Nikola Jokic is putting up video game numbers game in and game now. It's just really insane to see how he's able to impact the game from so many aspects of the floor. And then, of course, the acquisition of Russell Westbrook has been a huge piece as well. I know Russ was a guy that many people wrote off. And even for me, I had a feeling that he could have a good season with Denver this year, but I didn't know exactly. But I think he's just been able to flourish and play next to these guys tremendously. I think that his playmaking and his ability to attack the rim has taken a lot of shoulders off of guys like Nikola Jokic, but also has created good opportunities for guys like Jamal Murray as well. So give credit to Russell Westbrook for the impact that he's had. The thing about Cleveland is like I'll give credit. Cleveland has been a great team, but for some reason, this team still doesn't move me as a team that can win the East or can even get to the Eastern Conference Finals per se. I know that many people may disagree with that. I still honestly picture Cleveland as a second round action, and look, I could be totally wrong, honestly. And if I am wrong, I'll be happy for them if they do get past the second round, honestly. But I don't know. There's just still something about Cleveland, and I can't really put my finger on it, but I still think that they may be maybe a year just a piece away from really elevating themselves as contenders. And I mean, look, I'm not trying to disrespect the players on the team. Donovan Mitchell's been incredible this year. I love the continued development of Evan Mobley. I think Evan Mobley has definitely asserted himself as one of the best power forwards in the game. Darius Garland's been tremendous as well, even though I'm still a little bit upset at Darius Garland for missing those free throws at the end of the Rockets game. But at the end of the day, it's all good, honestly. But no, I give credit to Cleveland. Cleveland took the season by storm, winning I think their first 15, 16 games of the year, and they've consistently been one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. So give credit give credit to them. A team that's also caught me by surprise is the Houston Rockets. It is crazy because I did predict them as being good, but I didn't predict them as being top 3 or top 4 good. I mean, they've just been sensational to begin this year. I mean, Sengun is one of the more talented bigs in the game. It's crazy because he's not a guy that will beat you off of athleticism, but he's super skilled as far as being in the low post. He can pass the ball really well. He can shoot the ball, space the floor really well. Jalen Green has been just tremendous this year as well for the team, and then of course the other guys as well. I mean, I think getting Ime Udoka as their head coach has really helped that team elevate as far as help them develop. And honestly, Houston is a team where I wouldn't be shocked if they made the conference finals, honestly, because I think that they've been that good this year, honestly. So give credit to them, honestly. And then of course other teams as well. I've actually been really surprised with the Clippers. I mean, the Clippers are not contenders to me, but I mean, I've been really surprised with how well they've been playing. I think James Harden's had a really great season, honestly. And then the other teams like the Knicks, honestly, I mean, I'll be real and say that Karl Anthony Towns' transition to becoming a Knick has actually been better than what I expected because not saying that I thought that he was going to play bad by any means, but I don't know. It just seemed crazy to see how he got traded from Minnesota to the Knicks, and I mean give credit, because the Knicks, I think it was a struggle to begin the year. Obviously, with new guys, on the team, it took them a while to really build that chemistry. But once they were able to find it, honestly, I mean they've been hitting they've been super well this year. I mean they beat Memphis the other night by almost 40, honestly. So, I mean, it's crazy to see how well New York is playing. And I think New York is a team that you have to respect. I mean, they're not a team that moves me as a team that can get to the finals as of yet, but they're definitely a team that you have to continue to look out for, honestly. And I think the conference finals is definitely on the horizon for them. But this season has been really good, man. It's been really talented. A lot of great talented teams, honestly. And I think it's really wide open, honestly. I mean, there's not really a clear cut favorite. I mean, obviously the Celtics are probably many people's clear cut favorite just because they are the reigning champs. But I think honestly, as far as the other teams, I mean, I think that the league is really wide open to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, on that point, I just looking at the standings now. Like, I don't think I'd be surprised if any of the top four teams from either conference made the finals. Like between the Bucks, Knicks,
Yeah,
Celtics, and Cavs in the East, and the Nuggets, Grizzlies, Rockets, and Thunder. And yeah, I mean, a ton of great points there. The Rockets have been insane. Ahmed Thompson's ascension to getting more playing time
that's
and just flying on the scene like that defense is incredible. His athleticism is just absurd, just jumping out of the gym, and very very fitting that he's on this space themed team because he's just taking off launching for crazy blocks. Like if Victor Wembanyama wasn't kind of running away with the Defensive Player of the Year award already, I think he would be right there with anyone. It was one of the
100%.
he's already probably a top five candidate. Like he's just been insane to see his development and also his downhill skills and kind of as a point forward type that is progressing as finishing at the rim and creating looks for others. So obviously had like I want to say 30 points or it was a new career high and a game winner the other night with that little like stop on a dime fade away in the mid range. So that was really cool to see for him. And yeah, I mean they're a team that it's definitely lacking experience, but I wouldn't want to see the Rockets in a playoff series. Like
I
they're just going
agree.
to play as tough as anybody. They're deep as anybody. They're one of these teams that is fourth on defense and 10th on offense at the moment, and that's just a tough out for any team. And yeah, to note on some of these other guys, the Thunder have the number one defense, the Cavs have the number one offense, and I think they've both shown like they both kind of have gone through some playoff struggles that you want to see for a future champion. Like you mentioned, the Thunder went up, made it all the way to the conference finals and lost to the Mavs. And it doesn't hurt their chances that the Mavs are pretty beat up this year and might not be that
Right.
same team come around the playoffs. So maybe that mismatch isn't there. It feels like we haven't even seen the fully loaded Thunder yet between Chet injury now and Hartenstein's injury to start the year.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of teams go through that. Obviously, shout out the Magic. They were the 3 seed for a second. Then they lost Franz, and it got a little ugly for a little bit. But Paulo and Franz are back. Goga Bataze's back. He's had a huge resurgence for his career as putting up insane like defensive impact numbers and positive winning impact numbers. Suggs is just about back. He's kind of in and out of the lineup, but it'd be nice to see what these guys can do with a full roster between their because they still have the third best defense in the league. They just can't seem to figure out this shooting for I don't know 10 15 years running of the Orlando Magic spacing. So I'm hoping that with the stars back with that should open up the offense just a little bit more for everyone to maybe draw a double with Paulo and make it a little easier for Franz and vice versa, where maybe you get a few more open looks and you're not asking more so role players to create those looks so consistently with everybody out. So, I think Orlando might, probably I think their goal is more so just winning a playoff series at this point. Obviously, like you mentioned off the top with the Cavs series last year, that was an incredible back and forth with one of the best teams in the league this year. And they ended up missing a few players as well by the end, but Orlando could have stole it, and it's nice to at least that like every season has been better than the last, and Orlando is on pace with last season despite missing one of their stars for all but like 6 games so far this year. So, they're right on pace with that. And now that everyone's back, maybe the schedule gets a little easier and they can actually rack up some wins and move back up the standings to make a little run in the playoffs here. But yeah, I mean, the Clippers, they've been really impressive. I did not see them having the second best defense with Kawhi missing so many games and Paul George being out entirely over in Philly now. And, credit to Harden and Norm Powell doing his thing, deserving that all-star type of recognition. I don't know if he'll get it, but he's playing like one for them. And, they're 26-20. They're a good team, 10th in point differential. So, a good team to keep an eye on, and might as well give a shout to Philly. I don't think they're going to re-enter these conversations this year between all their injuries. It's disappointing for them. Sad to kind of see that not work out when they have so much talent. But on the contrary, Milwaukee has started to figure things out. Like Giannis is back to his MVP form. When
He
you look at
is.
his numbers, like he's putting up some real numbers. It looks like Dame and Giannis are finally building that pick and roll chemistry that everyone envisioned that might happen overnight. Maybe it just doesn't happen that quickly for everybody over time, especially with Dame being used to having the ball in his hands as a main guy for like 10 years of his career. And now he's got to kind of find a fit playing off of like the orbit that is Giannis. So, that's interesting to see them kind of get a little better. They're not quite in these rankings as high, I guess, but they're 12th on defense and ninth on offense. So, they technically make the cut, and they're someone that I think if those two are healthy and good to go, like they can still do some damage in the playoffs. So I would say that like a fully healthy Thunder team is what I would predict is coming out of the West, especially adding Chet back to this group and seeing how great he looked early on in the season with his development, finally becoming a little bit more of a mismatch hunter in the post ups, spreading the floor from three. Maybe the game's slowing down a little bit for him, so he doesn't feel as rushed to like drive every time he catches the ball and can kind of choose his shots a little more calmly now. And there's just so much defensive talent there between Caruso and Hartenstein on top of an already elite defense where, that's just bound to be successful. And you mentioned Shea, like this should, in terms of like the new MVP candidate guy, like that, it's his to win, I think, in that sense, while Jokic and Giannis are proven MVP guys that are putting up great numbers on winning teams. So like it'll probably come down to a 3-man race, but like if the Thunder keep doing what they're doing, I think this is Shea's year for sure in that sense. He's just so efficient. He like you wouldn't think that one of the most efficient scorers in the league is also one of the best defenders, but he really is that
Yeah,
impactful on both ends. So that's a good shout that this could be his year. I also got to credit Jokic. It might be Jokic's best season as well, putting up numbers.
that's why it's tough. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it'll be an interesting discussion as it comes down to the wire, and yeah, on some of the stuff you said, like really like the Westbrook addition so far for them. Like he's been a really nice match in like the pace that Jokic wants to play, always looking for Jokic, always kind of like great chemistry between the two. Last time I checked, I think Russ had more assists to Jokic than Jamal did this year, which is crazy to think that he's coming off the bench putting up those numbers, but it just shows
exactly.
how much he's looking for Jokic when he's out there and really embracing an off-ball cutting role that I don't know he has in other stops, but something about that chemistry is just unlocking his will to like win at all costs, change his role for the team, and it's really nice to see that after the media did not treat him so nicely at at his previous stops for not kind of sticking to meeting those expectations. So, I think we hit on just about all these teams. Who would you, if you had to pick like the final two teams or even the final four teams, who do you think comes out of these conferences and at least in the conference finals?
Final four, I will say for the West, I'll say OKC and Denver, depending on what the seeding is. And then for the East, I'll say Boston and you know what? I'm gonna pick the Knicks. I'm gonna pick the
All
Knicks to make
right.
the finals. I'm gonna be nice to Knicks fans. I'll say Boston goes out of the East. I think they have the better all around team. I think New York, they're probably a year away from really establishing themselves as like clear cut favorites. Maybe we'll see. And then for the West, I'm gonna go OKC. I think it'll be a tight 7 game series, but I think OKC could come out on top. So Boston and OKC in the finals. If you ask me to pick who wins that one, I think maybe experience does play a role in it. Then of course with Boston already winning one before, so if it came down to those two teams, I'd probably pick Boston to win.
There you go. That's a good shout, and I'm glad you mentioned the Knicks. I didn't even mention them, but I really liked the trade when it went down. Just the idea of like a stretch five center with all defensive type candidates in the front court with what
Exactly.
Mikal Bridges used to be in Phoenix and has shown he can score some now in Brooklyn, and now he probably gets to focus a little more on whatever the team needs on a night to night basis. And OG Anunoby's just been an incredible defender since day one, and Brunson's still doing his thing, and just being able to run the offense and like when you think about what the Knicks did last year around Brunson and how they surround him with that much talent and that much defense and shooting and Josh Hart doing his crazy whatever position he plays on any
Yeah, who
given night
knows?
off the bench, just bringing that energy like that's a tough out. That's a tough roster, and I remember the opening night, the Celtics really just waxed the Knicks, but they
They
had like
did.
no chemistry. I don't think that's an indicator for a playoff series as much as just kind of like a fun opening night matchup where one team has gone through a lot together and the other team it's like their first time playing together. So,
Exactly.
I don't think that's as much of a predicator, but I like those picks. It's tough for the Final Four. I think Thunder and Celtics will face off in the finals. Not the hottest take, but I do think that will be the final matchup, and I could see it going either way. I still think the Celtics, like you said, deserve to be the favorites, and that two-way versatility will kind of come out on top. And the Thunder might have to make it to the finals to win the finals later, like the Celtics did against Steph's
Right.
Warriors that one time. Like ultimately, Steph's Warriors that experience and Steph's unreal talent seemed to beat a better team at the time in terms of just where they were at that stage as a team. But that experience overcame it, especially when the lights are really that bright on the final stage. So, I could see. I think the Cavs make a little push in the playoffs with what they're doing, and like I said off the top, I agree. I think the top four on either side, and we didn't hit on the Grizzlies too much, but Jaren Jackson, John Morant, Zach Edey's been
Yeah.
solid. Jalen Wells, Desmond Bain, like they're loaded. Somebody's gonna trade. There's a chance D Fox or Jimmy Butler maybe ends up on one of these contenders. We'll see where he ends up. Those are the big trade rumors before the deadline, so that might make a little swing for somebody. But yeah, I mean, I would go Rockets Thunder. I think this
I like
year, I think the Rockets are going to make a little bit of a push with their defense and just kind of the. Well, I love watching the Nuggets, so I hate picking against them in that sense. Jokic is that good, and Aaron Gordon's always been the man since Orlando. Super fun to watch, but
that.
I
Right.
think there's something going on in Houston with that defense and something special with their depth, that two-way depth. So Thunder, Rockets, Celtics, Cavs for my pick. I realize I just picked the top two in each conference, so not the very hottest take, but that's my prediction for the conference finals, and maybe Celtics over Thunder as well. So in the finals, so we'll be
No, I like the honesty. I mean, I think the Rockets are ready. Like I think I think that they proved the season that they are one of the top contenders in the Western Conference. And I mean, like I mean, of course you look at the star power, but it's also the depth as well that I think that really gives them an advantage, honestly. So, and then on top of that, they got some key vets right there for instance, like Fred VanVleet. He's already a champion. Ime Udoka was able to lead the team to the finals a couple years ago when he was with Boston, so that also gives him an advantage as well. But I'll be real. I mean that conference finals between the Rockets and OKC will be really fun and competitive to watch. I mean, those are two young teams. I think their defenses are really spectacular to watch on both ends of the floor. So I mean, I would really love to see who comes out on top of that.
Yeah, it would definitely be just the series of high flying athletes, just
Literally.
length and strength everywhere. Just a rock fight, but also a lot of skill on both of those teams. So that's
Hmm.
what you want in the playoffs. So I like these picks. I think we did well here, and I appreciate you hopping on the pod today. It was a lot of fun talking NBA contenders and rising prospects in the women's ranks, and just hearing about your scouting process as well. So I appreciate you hopping on. It's a lot of fun talking hoops.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. This was fun, man. Whenever you want to do this again, just hit me up.
You already know. All right, have a good one.
Hmm.
Learning Basketball is a Switch Theory podcast hosted from Beyond the Arcade. Hey, that's me. You can find my work on Twitter, YouTube, Substack, and check out the team's writing at theswishtheory.com.